This is only the two of you guys. Where you have a couple more minutes, or can we start? Should we start?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna sit down now.
Please.
We'll make it a little more personal. So, Garland Jarman, Director of Missions for Creighton. I just want to you guys. I want to make sure we answer stuff that you guys want to talk about. And you might have some specific questions too. Definitely throw them out too, so we can. Instead of doing like a formal presentation, you guys want to hear me talk for like an hour. So, I don't want to talk for an hour. So, this will be easier. What year are you guys in school?
I'm a senior, a sophomore.
Cool. No, you can talk about different things. Are you applying this year?
No, next year.
Perfect. So the information I'm giving will be for both of you guys when we get into the Mcat application. It'll be relevant for both of you guys for next year, so it'll make a lot of sense, which is awesome. Where are you guys from?
I'm from Walnut Creek.
Walnut Creek?
Guam.
Guam? Oh. Never been there. My dad was stationed there, though, for like 7 years.
Oh, really? Yeah, we have 2 military bases. We're having a huge military buildup in the near future, too, so
Are you?
we'll see how that affects the island.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was Air Force, and he was there for a while, so yeah, it was pretty cool. Quick overview of Creighton. We are a Jesuit Catholic institution in Omaha, Nebraska. Population about 8,000 people on our 8,000 students on our campus. They do work in 3 undergraduate colleges and then multiple professional and graduate programs. We have arts and sciences, business, and nursing for undergrad. For health science professional schools, of course, you're looking at med school today, but we also have pharmacy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, nursing, and dentistry. So health sciences are pretty big for us, kind of what we're known for. We do have a law school also on our campus too. And then master's and PhD programs in the sciences, master's programs in business, some doctorate programs in education and leadership too on our campus. So pretty diverse that way. We don't have engineering. That was the one thing our 2 presidents to get when I went there. He was trying to get an engineering campus, but we never got it. So we're still pretty diverse. Located in Omaha, Nebraska, which is, of course, right in the middle of the United States, right in the Midwest. Great people. It's a city of about 850,000 people in the metropolitan area. We're located off of downtown Omaha, so we're right next to the business center of the city. We're right next to the cultural center of the city, and also activities. So if you want to go to a show or a concert or a Broadway play or anything like that, all that's done right next to our campus. So our students can take advantage of where they're at, which is really nice. That's the east side of the city. As you move out west, it's more suburban, so houses and neighborhoods everywhere. For our students who are married, have kids, really good school systems, nice cost of living, so it's a nice place to go to school. Yeah. As a Jesuit Catholic institution, when it comes down to the school med, we're not a huge med school. I'd say we're average size. We bring a class of 152 every year. Sometimes we over-enroll, like this class that we currently have, it's 156, and 1 MD PhD student last year was 155. So sometimes we over-enroll, but our goal is to be 152 for regular students and then 2 MD PhD students in addition to that going forward. Very traditional curriculum, which you can see like the goals of the curriculum on page 7. Did I give you one? Okay. Yeah, I use this quite a bit instead of PowerPoint. So kind of the goals of the curriculum, we want to give you basic science courses in the first year, so you'll do anatomy with a cadaver lab. You'll do MCB, which is the next hardest course. You'll do these 2 together. MCB is molecular cellular biology course, which is a combination of biochem, a lot of genetics, a lot of molecular biology. So the more cellular biology, human biology, genetics, so on and so forth that you have, the better off you are in our curriculum. In addition to that, you'll also take ethics, you'll take host defense, you'll take pharmacology, and other courses in the first year. And then you'll also do clinical skills. So we'll teach you basic clinical skills, how to do vitals, how to do physicals, so on and so forth. So every student comes in with a variety of clinical skills. Some students have been nursing students, they have great skills. Some students have been EMTs. Others have done patient transport work or just volunteer in the ER or patient companion work, which is great. So we want to make sure everybody's at the same level when they get finished with the first year. So we'll teach you basic clinical skills. You practice with your classmates, but you also practice our practice patients. We'll actually tape you, critique you, talk to you, work with you on your communication skills, because that's important. Like going to a door and you don't even know the patient. How do you form that rapport? How do you form that trust between you and your patient right away? And that's how you're getting to know them and their issues and their family background, so on and so forth. not just talking about what ails them. So we'll talk about that quite a bit in the first year too. In the second year, you're applying the basic science courses that you had to the body. So you'll go through the systems of the body. So cardio, renal, so on and so forth. One system at a time, instead of like your first year where you're doing multiple courses at one time, kind of like undergrad. Second year is going to be like a block schedule. We do one course at a time. And it's pretty fast, really intense. If you talk to our students, they'll tell you the second year is the hardest year at Creighton because you're going so fast through the curriculum. But it's really good. It's really in-depth. You'll definitely know your systems very well. In addition to that, you'll have true clinical experiences with patients. We have multiple clinics in the city that we run, and so you'll be with one of our physicians in their clinic twice a month, once every other week. Working with patients, using your clinical skills, the physician will critique you and coach you and make you a better physician by helping with your communication skills and using your clinical skills during that second year. And all this kind of prepares you for the third year where you do your rotations. At the end of your second year, you will do USMLE Step 1, which is your first test to be certified as a physician. You have to pass that test in order to move into your M3 year. M3 year, currently listed are 6 different rotations that will be changing in the near future. By the time if you guys end up coming to Creighton, you'll have at least 7 rotations, maybe 8 rotations, if not more, available to you. Right now we have 6, but the dean and our new Associate Dean of Medical Education wants to expand that. We know we're going to add neurology. I'm not sure about the other rotations yet, but we will definitely add neurology as a rotation for you. So the third year, the goal is to help you figure out what type of physician you want to be. You know, you might have shadowed pediatricians, you might have shadowed orthopedic surgeons, you might have shadowed in derm. You might think this is what I want to do. But then once you get into medical school, where you're going to be working in those areas, you'll really be able to say, I want to be this type of physician. And that's what you're doing in your third year, trying to figure out what's the best fit for you. Okay. Of course, in medical schools, our goal is to give you a broad background in medicine, so that's why you do multiple rotations at our schools. Okay. At the end of your third year, you should know what you want to practice. In the fourth year, you'll have specific medical instruction in that area of medicine so you can get even more experience in it. And then you're also applying for your residencies. And then you find out where you're matched at for residency in March, and you graduate in May. You will take Step 2, USMLE Step 2, during your second year also. Okay. So pretty quick turnaround. Pretty quick 4 years. Now, a couple different things with our third year. I mentioned that we're adding rotations to it, and all that will be set for you before you come. We're hoping to have everything set for, actually for next year. If not, it will be set for M3s in 2017. So we're pretty close to getting this done. But we do have 2 clinical campuses. So on page 9, it talks about our teaching facilities. We have, of course, our Omaha campus. And the history of our Omaha campus is that we've had our own hospital, which is on the front of the brochure, Creighton University Medical Center, for years. And that's been the home for our residency programs and most of your rotations. We also, but recently in 2011, 2012, we merged with a health group in Omaha called Allegiant, and now we're known as CHI Nebraska. CHI is a Catholic Healthcare Initiative. We actually run multiple hospitals in Omaha, Lincoln, and also Central Nebraska. So we're a huge health group in the state now. One thing that's going on in our state is that because we own so many hospitals, we are consolidating some hospitals. The flagship hospital for CHI in Omaha is called Bergen Mercy. It's a beautiful facility about 15 minutes west of our campus, right in what we call Midtown in the middle of the city because of where it's located. Beautiful facility. That's going to be our home. So they're closing our hospital and moving our residencies and our faculty, physician faculty members, all of our health professionals most of them to Bergen. We also are going to be moving some faculty members to Emmanuel, which is another hospital that they own. Lakeside is another hospital that they own, and also Midlands and Mercy. So you'll rotate at all those hospitals to give you a very robust clinical experience, both when it comes down to diversity in patient population, diversity in the way that medicine's done because you're hitting different areas of medicine. In addition to that, you'll also rotate at our Children's Hospital of Omaha for your PEDS rotation, and also at the Omaha Veterans Affairs Hospital. So a lot of diversity there. We also have a campus in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay? For that, you would rotate at St. Joseph's Hospital Medical Center. That would be your home. You would also rotate at the Children's Hospital Phoenix because we want you at a Children's Hospital for your peds rotation, at least for part of it. And then also an outpatient psychiatry clinic for part of your psych rotation. So you have a couple different choices. You decide, yep.
Question.
Sure.
Quick. So between the two campuses in Phoenix and Omaha, that's just during your rotations.
That's just during your third and fourth year.
And what determines where you go?
Good question. So if you're accepted to Creighton, part of the acceptance process is you letting us know which campus you prefer to go to. We get more students who want to go to Phoenix. So we do a lottery system for Phoenix. So the first 42 students in the lottery get to go, and this is done after all the acceptances are done. We usually do it late April. So all of our first acceptances are done. We'll do the lottery, send out the numbers. If you're first 42, you have the option of going, or you have the option of backing out. And some students back out, and then we just use the next person on the list and see if they want to go. Once that's all set, you still have the opportunity to back out of Phoenix and stay in Omaha. We ask you to let us know by the end of your first year. Because some students decide to stay in Omaha. They just really like it. They don't feel like moving after they're in their second year. So it just depends on the student. The clinical instruction, let me jump back. The curriculums will be the same, aka the rotations are the same. Of course, they're done just a little bit differently because of the location. But everything should be the same by curriculum for the two campuses. If you're in Omaha and you want to go to Phoenix and you don't get to go down there as making it your clinical campus, you can go down your M4 year. We have electives and externships in Phoenix. We have them also in Omaha. So we have quite a few students who are in Phoenix coming up to Omaha. A lot of students going from Omaha down to Phoenix in the fourth year. A lot of mixing and matching, and that works out pretty well. So some diversity in your clinical experience. We also have the opportunity for you to do we don't have a rural medicine track. People always ask that because we're in Omaha. We don't do that. But if you want that experience, we do have part of a rotation out to western Nebraska or central Nebraska. You can spend 4 weeks with the rural family med physician if you want to.
In Omaha?
Actually, it'll be either right now, we're in western Nebraska, and I believe it's Scottsbluff that we're in. You have an option in Kearney. And we also have an option in Plattsmouth, but those keep growing. So it just depends on what physicians we're working with at that time. Yep.
Do you have a DO program as well?
We do not, just the MD. And then we also have, you can do part of your internal med rotation at St. Mary's Hospital here in San Francisco too if you wanted to. So that's an option for you. Other questions?
Could you touch on the entrance?
Admissions requirements and
yeah.
everything? Sure, why not? So this is our older brochure. If you go to page 18, it gives you some numbers. For fall 2014, it shows that we had 6,700 applications. Out of that, we accepted over 400 students to get class 155. Last year, we had 7,100 applications. We interviewed 619 students. We accepted 378 to get a class of 157. To give you some numbers there. Most of our students are B+ average students. We're going to definitely look at your courses to make sure you have a solid science foundation. Due to that, we did also change our requirements for admissions for the courses you have to take. If you look on page 19 on the bottom, look for fall 2016 requirements. Those will be our requirements going forward. You have to take biochemistry. You need that for the MCAT anyway. You'll also have to take an advanced level human or mammalian or animal physiology course, something that gives you a foundation in the systems of the body. We want to see a stats course and then 2 English courses. And of course, we give preference to students who have additional sciences, because the better your science foundation, the better you do in medical school, at least for our curriculum. After your science courses, of course, we're going to look at your Mcat score. On the new Mcat, we're not sure what we're going to be looking at in the future. Right now, we just ask students to score in the top 50 percentile on the different subsections. That might change by the time you guys apply, because we might know more about the MCAT. If it does, we'll let you know. It'll be on our websites. Outside the academic arena, we definitely want to see that you've researched your career in medicine. So we ask students to shadow physicians. Your shadowing experiences should be more than just watching the patient-physician interaction, but we ask you to also interview the physician. Talk to him or her about the career in medicine, what they love about it, what they don't like about it, why they stay in it, what do they keep holding on to that keeps them in medicine. And then also talk to them about things that influence their careers, aka insurance issues. Maybe they own their own clinic, so then they have to worry about HR issues and management issues. So you want to have a global view of what medicine is. It's not just patients anymore. It never has only been patients. There's a lot more to it. So you want to know what you're getting into before you come. We also want to make sure that you're comfortable around patients. Our goal is to graduate great clinicians, so people who work with patients. So we want to make sure you have patient experience. And this doesn't mean you have to have hands-on patients, aka being a CNA or a nurse or anything like that. But we want you in the patient, a clinic environment. So volunteer work at a clinic or work at a clinic, work maybe at a nursing home or hospice. There's mobile clinics, there's free clinics. Any way that you're around patients is important. And then lastly, as a Jesuit Catholic institution, service to those in need is very important to us. So we like to see a history of service for our students outside of the medical arena. We do a lot of service in our area. Some of it is medical, but a lot of it is not. And we just like to make sure that we bring in students who have a history of that because then they feel comfortable on our campus. So if you're strong in those 5 areas on your application, then you can be competitive for interview.
Do you have any kind of bridge program, like a master's or a post-bac?
Sure. Right now we have both. We have a post-bac that's truly for pre-health students, but those are for students who really need to remediate. It's pretty basic. It goes through basic chem, or bio, orgo, physics. You also do biochemistry, some genetics in it too. But it's truly for those who need to remediate. It's almost like start over. And then we have right now our Master's in Clinical Anatomy. Allows students to use this as a way to get in medical school too, because you do the anatomy class with an M1 class. You actually do the whole anatomy course, and then you TA it the next year. So it's an 18-month program, year and a half. And you take some other courses too that are really beneficial for our curriculum. If you do well on that, we look at you pretty closely for admissions purposes to Creighton. And that's for students who, you had like a B average in your sciences. You just need to get over the hump a little bit. And clinical anatomy program works out really well. And there are other special master's programs out there. We're hoping to start one within the next couple of years too. But if you are looking for special masters, definitely we can give you a lot of options, different places that we've accepted students from that we know are really good programs.
So the Mcat isn't required for that program?
For clinical anatomy, they'll require either the Mcat or the GRE. So it just depends on which one you've taken. A lot of students have applied to medical school, and we tell them, they should do a special master's, and they can just use we actually let them use their med school application for clinical anatomy. So we'll take their MCAT. They look at their AMCAS application, all the letters, it just fulfills everything.
So that's what you will decide?
That's what we will encourage them to apply to it or other special masters. If they decide to apply to ours, we can send all the information down to the graduate school for them. Yeah, one thing we like to do with students is talk to them about their application. So if you have questions about your application, you can contact us. And we'll definitely tell you, hey, you're really competitive, great, let's get you in. Or maybe your file's a little bit weak. These are some things that you can do to make it stronger. And it's case by case, application by application, what students need. So we like to try to be a resource that way.
What about other master's programs like Masters in Public Health or others? Or do you prefer the special?
For us, if it's a science issue and you need your science courses you need the help with the science, you need to take a science master's, one that has a lot of coursework. Master's of Public Health just doesn't have enough science for us. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't help you with if we say, hey, you need more science and you do public health, it won't help you with the application process.
Why so many students from California?
Because you guys don't have enough med schools for your students. So a lot of the private schools in the Midwest have done really well in California. So we have a lot of students from California. If you look on page 3, this was our actually student body during the 2014-2015 school year. So M1s and M4s. And California is always the #1 state representative. And then mostly Midwestern states and some East Coast states, but mostly Midwest, Western states where our students come from.
Mm-hmm.
Do you prefer applicants with a research background?
We do not, but it's always helpful. Having that background is always helpful. And that's a good question. Like, every school kind of has their own priorities.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing you guys want to do is when you're starting to look to apply to med school, look at the priorities for the schools. We'll have it on our websites usually. Like for us, it's just those 5 things I talked about: your academic background, and your courses, your Mcat Score, shadowing, clinical experience, and non-medical service. Some schools will add on research, and research is always a positive, going through that process. And it doesn't have to be scientific research if you're not a science major. Doing psychology research, doing business research, just going through that process is always a positive because medicine's influenced by research so much. You have to understand how to understand what's going on with research and when something comes up, what the information's telling you. So it's always good to have that background.
Do you tell students a minimum GPA?
We usually say B+ average, but that's still case by case.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 1, a B+ average at one school is not the same at another school.
Mm-hmm.
2, students might ramp up or ramp down. So if you say you have a 3.5 GPA, I'm going to go, what's your courses look like? Did you do really well in your freshman, sophomore year? Then you hit your upper level courses and you came down? Well, that's an issue. Was it the other way around? You did not as well in freshman year, and we understand there's a transition. Maybe sophomore year not as well because you hit orgo, and we understand that. But then you got into biochem, you got into phys, you got into genetics, and you just got B+ and A's and ramped up. Then you might be below that B+, but you're a great student, so we'll bring you in. So it's truly case by case when we look at files.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I must admit, if we come across like a 2-something, I'll look at definitely the grades still, but most likely those students are a little weaker. But then they might have done post-bac work, and then we have to look at that too. Or maybe they've done a master's and they didn't tell me that they did a master's, and so we look at that also.
Okay.
So it's really case by case. Other questions? Cool. Let's talk about the application process. I know that you will probably do like an AMCAS presentation in the spring. But let's talk about the AMCAS application, which is the primary application. You'll hear it called the primary sometimes. It's a central application service for most allopathic medical schools in the United States and Canada. The exception is Texas. They have their own centralized program. So you have to, if you're looking at Texas schools, make sure you look at Texas system. AMCAS actually has a nice link to it, so that works out pretty well. On the AMCAS application, it's a long application. You can start filling it out in May. Prior to the year that you want to enroll. So for instance, say you guys want to enroll for 2017, you would start the process in May 2016. Okay. And then on the back on page 20, it kind of gives you a timeline of how it goes from there. So you start your AMCAS application in May, ask for a couple different things. Ask, of course, biographic information, where you're from, do you have parents, how many brothers and sisters do you have, some basic information there. Some areas that we like to touch with you. 1, ask for your personal statement. That'll go on your AMCAS application. You'll have ample information about how to write your personal statement, but for us, we encourage you, make sure you put in why you want to be a physician in your personal statement. If you don't do anything, do that. We get great personal statements, and students talk about how great they are and all the experiences that they've had, but they never say why they want to be a physician. So you need to make sure you incorporate that into your personal statement. That'd be wonderful. The next place that we like to talk about is on the AMCAS application, you get to put in 15 experiences. This is like your resume or your CV, okay? But it's more in-depth, which is helpful to medical schools. For instance, what you'll do is, say for instance, you are part of a club organization here at St. Mary's. You'll list that. If there's an acronym for it, explain what the acronym is so that we know. And explain what the club and organization is known for. You get to write that up. And then you also get to write up how involved you are in the club. If you had leadership positions, you did service to the club, or whatever, you get to actually write an essay about that experience, about that experience that you had. And there's 15 experiences that you can do that with. So a lot of times students are really good about listing what they've been involved in, but focus on the write-up too, because that's a lot of information for us. What we're trying to do is, we like to say we're painting a picture of who you are as a person. Your experience section and tells us how you spent your time while you're an undergrad, and tells us what passion you have, what you're passionate for. We'll also get that out of your personal statement. We'll get that out of letters, our great references for you. So we're trying to paint a picture. So the more context that you give us, the more information, the more data that you give us, the better. Okay, so take your time with the experience section. I always tell students, type it up. Or actually right now what you guys can do is start thinking about all the different experiences you've had here at St. Mary's and make a journal and keep track of those things. Because sometimes you forget. You might have done a lot of different things your freshman year, but now it's your junior year, and you're like, can't remember everything. Start trying to remember that and writing little notes about it, and that'll help you with your AMCAS application. I always tell students, after you finish your experience section, send it to a family member or a friend who's not applying to medical school or doesn't have anything connected to medical school, and ask them if they understand what's in there. They might have some questions that will help you with making sure that the information you're portraying is explained well enough for us to understand what you're doing. Okay. The next piece is your academic background. You get to list every course you've had within a higher ed institution during your college career. So that means that, of course, most of your courses are probably here at St. Mary's. If you did summer school at another school, you'd have to list that too. And you actually have to list the grade that you got from that school, not that transferred here from St. Mary's. Okay. So you want to get transfers from the different schools you attended and make sure that you list those courses on there. And then you'll send those transcripts to, you also have transcripts sent to AMCAS too, because they want that information too from every school. Once all that is in, it gets verified, and then we receive it if we're one of the schools you want to apply to. We do not pre-screen students for the secondary. We just don't have the manpower. We invite all students to submit the secondary. We send you an email with a lot of information about Creighton to help you really discern if we're a good school to apply to, because our secondary costs $95, and you'll have other secondaries that cost money too. So you have to be strategic on where you want to apply and how you want to spend your money. So we'll make sure that we provide you a lot of information about us before you make the decision if you want to apply or not. If you decide to apply, you submit our secondary application, ask a couple simple questions if you have any legacy connections at Creighton. And then there is, we ask for a picture, $95 fee, and then our letters of recommendation. And you guys have a committee letter here. Mm-hmm. So that fulfills our letters of recommendation requirements, so you're all set. Once we have everything, your application is complete, it can go into a review process and be reviewed for interview purposes.
What's the biggest mistake students make at the interview?
At the interview?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest mistake is, there's two of them actually. One, try and answer questions the way they think we want them answered, which is terrible. So, and you can really see through it, and it's just bad. So every interview process is different, but at Creighton, we're really trying to get to know you. So we have conversations with our students, with our applicants. You'll have two interviews, one with the current medical student and one with a member of the admissions committee, which could be a faculty member, a lot more staff member like myself. And we just want to have a conversation with you. We have access to your file. We know who you are on paper, trying to see, are you that person in real life? So we want you to relax and just talk to us, We'll ask you some specific questions sometimes, and it's when students start getting into like this mode of, I think Creighton wants to hear this, and I think Creighton wants to hear that. You can just see through it that they're not being genuine, and that just really hurts your application. It hurts your file quite a bit. Just be yourself when you come up for our interview. That works a lot better. Other questions about that?
So there were two mistakes.
Oh, the second mistake is not taking the med student interview seriously. Some students kind of blow that off. That's just a medical student. They're not important. They're on our committee. They vote on you. So, yeah, it's very important.
Like not being professional?
Yep, not being professional, getting a little more relaxed, a little more cordial, and they should be still knowing that they're in an interview. Yep. Our M4s are actually on the committee when we're looking at students, so they definitely mark about that quite a bit if that's in the write-up. Yep. So the rule of thumb is once you meet your first person from the school that you're interviewing at, so you might stay with a medical student the night before because we have a host program. You just want to be professional with them, and then all the way through the interview day. Yep. So and you wear a suit. It could be a skirt or a pantsuit. You'll be fine. It doesn't have to be black. It doesn't have to be blue. It could be brown. We've had someone with pink on, and she had a really nice suit. So depends on your style.
Trying to get your attention.
Yeah, and also as a Creighton student, so I kind of expected that. I know her style pretty well. So, but yeah, whatever works best for you guys. Yep. Other questions? After the interview's over, we give you a lot of time to meet with our students. So you'll have lunch with our current medical students. You'll have a session with our M3s and M4s, and they'll talk to you about our clinical experiences at Creighton. And then the day's pretty much done. You have a tour, and then the day's pretty much done. After everything's done, our evaluators will write up their interview, their thoughts about you, and send those to the committee, and the committee will decide if you're accepted or not. If you're accepted, it's great. You'll find out usually anytime after October 15th, and then we do it on a rolling basis every week. If you're not accepted, we'll put you on the alternate list, and what you can do is contact us and ask us why you're put on the alternate list, and we'll let you know why. And then you can try to fix that weakness by working on different things and sending us updates. We don't believe that a file is complete and stays that way once it's complete. We really believe a file is always evolving because we allow students to send us updates. So it might be additional grades. It might be additional experiences that you had during your senior year. Maybe there's a whole bunch of stuff that you thought of that you didn't put in your AMCAS application that you want us to know about. You can send us an update on that information. So we always think that you can add to your application and make it stronger. You just do that through the secondary application portal. It's pretty easy.
So Creighton, specifically, do you guys tend to look at whether a student takes multiple MCATs or?
We will look at that, definitely. And the rule of thumb on the old MCAT was if you take it twice, we'll look at your most recent MCAT, and that was fine. If you take it 3 times, we would average out the sub-scores from the different tests to kind of give us an idea of what your real score would be. On new MCAT, we're not sure what we're going to do yet when students take multiple tests. We know that if they take it twice, we'll look at the most recent. We're not sure if we're going to average it out or not. We haven't made those decisions yet. Yeah, the goal of the MCAT, I always tell students, take it once if you can. Sometimes you got to take it twice. It's just realistic. A lot of students take it twice. If you're going to take it a 3rd time, you don't want to take it more than 3 times unless there's extenuating circumstances. Okay. I also encourage students, you might take it in May. You're like, okay, I don't think I was really comfortable with that. I'll take it again in June. Don't do that. Give yourself time to study for it again. Give yourself a couple months. So if you take it in May, you want to take it again, take it maybe in July or August so you can study for it all over again. We see scores go down quite a bit when students take it a month later. They think they're prepared, but after taking it once, you're kind of like, okay, you lose some of that information, so you need to review. Oh. We're the same way. It's fine. There's enough sunlight. So that happens in my office all the time, in my boss's office all the time. Other questions?
Other than the specialized masters, what else do you like to see in that gap year?
It really depends on the students.
Mm-hmm.
I like to have conversations with students and see if there's weaknesses in the file. Maybe they need additional shadowing experiences or clinical experiences. Maybe they have everything and they just want to take a year off. Then that's great, But it's personal in that because I never know what their file looks like. Mm-hmm. So it depends on what they need specifically. It's always nice to keep up your clinical experiences. You can do that through volunteer work. You don't have to have a job per se. Some students are accounting majors and they're like, I just want to work in accounting 1 year because I can save a lot of money. Do that, but also volunteer at a hospital. So you're still involved in that arena. But it just depends on the student. And that's one thing that I think applicants kind of get mixed up on is that sometimes they think, and I could be wrong, but this is my perception, that there's certain scores you need to get, certain experiences, and you're in. And that's really not the case because you all have different backgrounds, different experiences. we take all that into consideration. So one application isn't the same as the other application, and they both bring a lot to the table, and that's why we like those students.
And so, like, first-generation students, you give special consideration?
Yep, first-generation students, students from disadvantaged backgrounds, we look at. Disadvantage for us is very broad. Yeah, we look at a lot of different things when we're looking at applications. Legacy students get special look at. Of course, our Creighton students get preference too. So there's a lot of different reasons why we look at schools. Other questions for you guys? Ladies, I should say. Sorry, I keep saying guys. Now, when you go to med school, it's gonna be hard. I must admit, it's a lot of work. But the cool thing is that every med school is set up to make sure that you get a great education. We all have support systems for you, so take advantage of them. Creighton, we are one of those schools that really pushes our support systems on you. We have 2 academic success consultants who are awesome, and they'll work with you on different things. If you need to brush up on your study skills or make them stronger, they'll help you out with that. If you need a tutor, it's a free service for our students. It's usually an M3 or M4 who has done really well, and they'll tutor you, and we'll set that up for you too. Your first line of defense, though, we always tell our students, is your faculty member. He or she's always willing to talk to you if you don't understand what happened in class. Maybe you did the podcast again, you're like, I still don't understand what they're trying to say. Sit down with your professor, and they'll explain it to you. Those are the type of things that we like to do on our campus. Probably similar to what you have here at St. Mary's. We like to keep it personal that way. So take advantage of that. You'll actually you'll have the opportunity to work with your classmates a lot. We want you to get to know them, form a community, support each other throughout those 4 years. And that really happens on our campus. In addition to that, we want to make sure that you have a balance in your life, so you're not just studying all the time, because if you do, you'll burn out. So we have, of course, we're a Catholic institution, so different religious activities on our campus. You can definitely go to Mass, work with our Jesuits, which are just great guys. We want to make sure that you take advantage of Omaha, as I said before, right next to the business and cultural center of the city. So if you want to go out to eat, it's right next to our campus. The different neighborhoods and different things are going on all the time. If you like music, you're in Benson. If you like theater, you could be in Exarban. There's just so many different places you can go in Omaha and just relax, and we want you to do that. Take time for yourself. Some students will take weekends and go out to Kansas City, which is 3 hours away. They might drive up to Minneapolis, which is 6 hours away. So also take advantage of the fact that you're in the middle of the United States. You can see some different places, which is a lot of fun too. So we really focus on balance for our students, and it works out pretty well for us. We also want you to get involved on our campus. Now, of course, there's different clubs and organizations, but we want you to take a step further and help us move along the medical school. So you might be part of the admissions committee. You decide that, I really like admissions. I really like going through the application process. I want to help students do that. So you can host students, you can interview students. In your M4 year, you can be on the committee and actually be there on Tuesdays when we're looking at them. So those are things that you can do on our campus. You can be part of the advancement committee to make sure students are advancing correctly through the 4 years and doing everything they need to do academically. We have students on our curriculum committee, and they are working with us right now to change their curriculum. So they're giving great information because they're going through it. So we really like our student involvement in our medical school too. That works out pretty well. Makes you feel connected.
So what else about the new MCAT? How are you all looking at the social and psych portion? Is that...
We're really not as much right now. On the old MCAT, we always focus on verbal and biological sciences. We don't look at physical sciences that much. We're still focusing on bio. We're looking at the critical reasoning. We're looking at psych and social a little bit. We're kind of looking at the chemistry a little bit, but we're focusing on that critical reasoning and the bio the most right now. We want them all to be strong, but those are ones that right now we care about the most. And that might change once we have done this a couple years and we can start seeing, is there any correlations between certain scores and how students do in our med school. We always need the correlation between verbal and bio and how that correlates to how students do in our medical school. So we're not sure about the new one. Changes for everybody. And also, we've seen scores have been everywhere. We're not sure if it's maybe the test is better for certain students compared to other students. Maybe some schools are able to prepare their students better than others. It's just because there hasn't been any consistency really for us. Yeah. So we'll know more once we're finished with this year. Other things I can talk to you guys about.
What's the number one greatest piece of advice you would give to a pre-medical student applying to med school?
Use your resources, aka your pre-health advising, and then also the schools that you're applying to. If they take phone calls, contact them and ask them questions. That's the best advice I can give you. There's so much advice out there, and a lot of it's really good. The problem is not all of it pertains to every applicant. And sometimes I think students get overloaded with advice, and there's like, I did this and this because this website said to me, like, well, that wouldn't apply to your specific situation. So if the schools take phone calls, talk to them if you have questions, and use your pre-health advising because they know what you need to do to get medical school based on your own application. So that's advice I can give.
What is the average number of hours that is recommended that a pre-med student would spend in clinical experience?
We don't have an average. We don't even look at your hours per se. We really look at how long you were in that experience, how often you went, and what you got out of it. That's why the write-up is so much.
Okay.
So we look for quality experiences instead of quantity. And that's the same for shadowing. Like we kind of know through your write-up if you got really good shadowing or not. And really, both experiences are mostly for you guys, not for us. So you can make the decision if, yes, this is what I want to do. You know, if you were a business student, you do an internship. And then you can figure out, yeah, I really like accounting, or oh my gosh, I don't like accounting at all. This would be kind of like your internship. So you figure out if medicine is what you want to do.
Exciting.
It's a fun process. It's a little testing your patience sometimes, going through it through that whole year. But once you start getting your interview invites, it's just students have a lot of fun with it. There'll be a lot of different students on the road. You'll probably see them multiple times. We always tell students when they come in for interview, get to know the students who are interviewing with you. They may be your classmates the next year. So, nice connections. Anything else that maybe I missed that you'd like me to talk about today?
I think I've answered everything. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
You guys have my card, so if you need anything, feel free to email me or call me. We travel a lot in the fall semester, so if it takes me, you might see that I'm out of the office. When you email, it might take me a couple days to get back to you, but other than that. We also do an open door policy where we take phone calls at first come, first serve on Thursday afternoons from 1:30 to 4:30 Central Time, which would be 11:30 to 2:30 your time. A lot of times that doesn't work for students, so you can always call and make an appointment with us. You call the front desk and say, hey, I want to meet with Garland or Dr. Quinn. He's my supervisor. He's Assistant Dean for Admissions. And we'll set up a phone appointment. We can answer any questions that you have. We can look over your transcripts if you want. You can always email those to us. While you're working on your Mcat application, if you have questions about your resume and things like that, we can look at that too. So we try to be a resource for students.